welcome to Lightworker Radio. My name is Nikki McGregor. I'm the founder of the GOL Network, gathering of Lightworkers community. And we are here doing our interviews with our professional members of the GOL Network. And I am so excited to announce Bill Dovel of Pro EFT Center here. And he's going to come on and share with our community about what he does. And so I was just talking to Bill, what we do in GOL is we connect seekers with providers that have that key and that wisdom to help with that holistic approach to wellness and all those 8 dimensions of wellness. And so that really is to the core of what we do is we're bringing joy and gratitude and creating community and collaboration within our Treasure Valley, but really beyond, right, Bill? Like this worldwide.
Definitely.
There is no difference. But yeah, I'd love, go ahead. We met officially recently, but if you'd like to give your official introduction, Bill, I'll hand it to you to say hello and introduce yourself.
Well, hi, I'm Bill Dovel. I'm an RN Emeritus, which means I'm an RN that hung around for a long time. And my specialty was psychiatry, but I'm a Pro EFT master practitioner. And that's kind of the highest level of training you can get in that. And I was a psych nurse for a very long time. And more than half of that, I was running partial hospitalization programs. Everything in medicine is long and has lots of syllables. And that was where people came in to do groups all day long and almost became a psychologist. And all my friends were psychologists, et cetera, all that stuff at the time. And I started looking for something that really worked. And by really worked, I mean, if you feel better in the session, that's good. But you should keep feeling better after the session. It should have a lasting effect.
Yeah, and isn't that I worked in physical therapy for 20 years, and it's not about enabling, it's about giving people the tools to do things at home, right? And so I think that's the important part as practitioners is that we give people the tools in the toolbox. But you joined our Facebook group really early on, back when we first started, I believe. And what I love is, and there's probably some of you on here watching, where you're sitting and you're watching these interviews, you're watching the highlights, you're seeing the posts. And I think it was a year and a half later, you were able to come to an event and you came to the evening social and we were able to connect again. You came to the lunch social. But yeah, it was, oh wait, you're Bill. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The great connection when you see somebody online for so long and you hear, I've heard about you and I've heard great things about you. So it was exciting to see you come to our social and finally make the connection. But yeah, I would, if you want to share a little bit, just kind of your entry of coming into GOL and being part and working with other providers, kind of just your perspective on that.
Well, my wonderful girlfriend moved here from Las Vegas. We were trading online. She does meditation, life coaching. She teaches Reiki masters to be Reiki masters. So it's, she's very talented. And she decided to move here after we decided that just being professional was not going to just work, okay, so to speak. And so basically, I said, well, she's coming, and we're both been in BNI, which is how we met. And we're both kind of burnt out about it. And so she says, well, I'm coming to Idaho, so I need to connect. And I said, well, there's this group, I joined it a year and a half ago. They have a Facebook page. It sounds like a perfect group for you. And so, well, if she's showing up on her own, but we showed up together, and I went, this is interesting. So here I am.
Yes, here you are. And your girlfriend is amazing, by the way. I remember that first,
wonderful.
It's like home. She walked in the door and I was like, okay, we're supposed to know each other. She's just that that embody that love and that joy. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're one lucky man.
I am. I tell her that every day,
Yeah,
I'm a lucky, lucky man. Yes.
she's gonna be blushing watching this. Um, yeah, so we got to connect and we met one to one. And I mean, your story is just you have such a diverse background. I love everything that you embody in essence and all the aspects that make you, right? Because we're not just one thing, we're not just the do of I'm just Bill that does EFT, right? That we have
Yes.
we have so many aspects that make us so amazing. But I'd love to hear about that. But I also want to hear how you broke down exactly what you practice and what you share with people and the gifts that you serve, and share.
Oh, so, well, I'll start with the second first, I guess. So EFT was the tool to have all the other tools work. And I'd be running a partial hospitalization program. And so I'm oddly enough the boss of psychologists and therapists and things like that. And we would do aftercare, and they would get better, but then you would get worse. And I've seen a zillion different methods, and except for one thing with panic disorder, somebody who really suffers from panic attacks, and that's the belief you are going to die level of panic. It's not I want to avoid dying. I'm dying right now. And they go through this experience uncued, which means, I'm shopping in the grocery store and all of a sudden, I'm dying. Okay. And if you die 20 times a year, it has a horrible effect on you. And then they end up in a program like I was running. And I learned from Dr. David Burns out of Stanford. I was going to see his presentation, a heady psychiatric, psychological presentation about the time order of things that happen in the body and learning how to use your thoughts to make things work better. And then he said, let me show you about panic disorder. And he had a famous author, and he put her in a panic attack. And during the panic attack, they challenged the belief she was going to die. And it was such a profound thing rather than hanging out with him, because there was just a few of us in the room that day. Um, the intuition says you got to do nothing but think about what you just saw. And so there I am, not having chili Rianos with Dr. David Burns. Instead, I'm driving home in the Bay Area where we were. And it's going, what is the thing? Well, it's the whole body was involved. It's not just the psychology. And then in aftercare, I would do the panic attack thing with people where I would put them in a panic attack once we have a very good relationship, because most people don't want to be put into a panic attack.
By an almost stranger.
Yes. And then during the panic attack, I would use their best thinking methods to challenge the beliefs they're going to die. And here's what panic does. Panic goes, this is our final defense when we're dying. You just give up, and the bear loses interest and wanders off. You're in the riptide. You just give up. I'm done. I'm dying. And then you realize you're not in the riptide. Whereas you swim against the riptide, you're done because you're not stronger than the whole ocean. And so panic it was a very unique thing because it convinces the person they're going to die. And the belief they're going to die is why they're panicking. And so it's a circle. And during the panic attack, if we would do the proof for the person during the panic attack that they don't die in panic attacks, it's actually very safe. You don't even stub your toe in a panic attack. Excuse me, got a frog today. You don't even stub your toe because you're not even getting up. You're dying. Okay. And it's designed to work that way. By the way, deer in the headlights is a very poor use of panic, but the rest of the time, it really helps keep us alive. But once we, during the panic attack, would get the belief in that they're not going to die from a panic attack, that was it. I mean, the joke was David said, you know, you have to do it 3 times. And it's kind of funny because you can't induce a second panic attack.
Isn't
And they
that
would come to,
interesting? Yeah.
yeah, and they would come back to aftercare. And in the second program I ran, I was privileged to be able to, they allowed me to have an aftercare where people that had graduated the program, so to speak, could come back. And they'd come back years later. They have never had another panic attack. Their anxiety, their depression, the relationship circle of hell, the OCD, whatever it was, kept coming back. But they've never had another panic attack. So I'm saying, why? How come? Okay. And these are brilliantly open minded people in the field of therapeutic psychiatry and psychology. So they're not narrow minded. They're way more broad minded than the average person you'll find in that field, but they're still caught in this box. And what they would do is they would tell me, well, Bill, you see, anxiety is just a lot harder to treat than panic. And I bought it for about a week. Oh, no, it's not. Are you kidding me? Have you seen somebody in a panic attack? Okay. And I realized it finally coalesced that it's the fact the body's totally involved. And fast forward 15 years of looking at stuff and not doing it, hypnotism, EMDR, and all sorts of things. And I'd almost just about given up on it. And I got in a guy in a yoga class as a travel nurse, and it was rough. And I went, this is it. I'm going to become a yoga teacher and practice cognitive behavioral therapy. Okay. And the problem was, is I tried, I really did try. Became a teacher and downward dog. Okay. Fill out your mood log. And, and then I accidentally discovered tapping, and 3 or 4 months into that training, because I was, I'm obsessively training in things. And,
A forever student.
yeah,
Yeah.
and which is a good thing to be. And about 3 months in, I went, this is what I'm looking for, because I was looking for something that had the body change with your mind. And that was my primitive understanding of it. Uh, but really, what we're doing is we are teaching the body to calm down while at the same time, and we're doing that physically, and we'll get into that in a second. But at the same time, you've come in and we've talked about your situation, how it's affecting you, what are your goals, with a sense of compassion instead of all the free advice you get out there. I'm going, well, why don't you just do that? And are you kidding me? I've tried everything you can think of. I'm just terrified of public speaking. We'll take an easy one. All right. And so I'm
Mhm.
terrified of public speaking. Then we'll map out um, your physical self. In other words, in the physical self, thoughts happen in the outside of your brain, the cortex. And the cortex goes to the middle part of your brain where all your emotions are directed from. And it's not connected. People don't realize, not connected to your eyes, not connected to your skin, not your ears. Oddly enough, it is connected to your nose, but that's a whole nother lecture.
That's another
And
one.
and and so uh, in order to have an emotion, you have to have a thought. So the thought comes first, then you develop the emotion. And cognitive behavioral therapy runs on, we'll straighten out your thinking, then your emotions will work right. But underneath the emotional part, you have what we call a lizard brain. This is the brain that keeps you breathing, keeps your heart going, gives you all these reactions, speeds up your heart rate when, you see the podium or whatever it is. And then your body is sending your signals all the time. And when someone's tapping with me, that's what we're working on. That's what we're actually doing. We're going to do your story, and then we're going to take a picture of the biology. We're going to rate how big the pieces of your biology are. And then we're going to do this silly tapping thing. And it looks totally silly. And we're taught, and I, I'm trained in 3 different kinds of EFT, but we're taught that we're tapping on the ends of the meridians. And that's not precisely true. This is pretty close to the end. Okay. And we're tapping on these areas because all evil comes from twisted um, meridians. And so, therefore, when you untwist your energy meridians, now life is good. Okay. And then clinical EFT says, well, why we're untwisting your meridians? What we're going to do is we're going to do gradual exposure therapy, which is one of about 30 things that work, for example, in cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, here's my explanation. Could have had a V8, got a headache, Home Alone poster. I'm thinking, you don't have to ask. I need to catch my breath. If you would like the whole audience
Mhm.
to need to catch your breath, you just touch here. Every actress on the planet knows these areas. They'll at least point to them. And the reason is because that's how we calm our nervous system down. It's already built into us. And yes, there's an acupuncture point right here. But what we're doing, and when you hold this for about 27 seconds, it will elevate the calming signals in your nervous system. It turns out that's how long it takes tapping. If if
27.
holding, yeah, boop, 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 or 27 seconds of this, and and this is not bad, but it's slower, and so that's why I'm doing tapping instead of having you hold. And so the client comes in, we draw them the biological picture and their story. We put it all together, and I'm quoting you because then we're working on you. A person that paraphrases too much is really working on them. And sometimes a word different is the whole thing, it's a different
Mhm.
thing. And so while we're tapping, I have you read back your story, except I'm telling you. It says, my situation today, I really don't believe this tapping is going to work, but I've really got to give a speech because it's part of the networking, and they're going to make me get up in front of them, and I'm really terrible at speaking, and I always kind of lose track. And you just telling your story, but I'm reading it back to you because you've already done it, and then you know what I think. Well, I'm just terrified of tapping, and it makes me just want to quit, makes me want to scream, makes me forget what I really wanted to talk about, etc. And so we tap like that, and we've already rated on a 1 to 10 scale. And by the way, if somebody's way off the scale, we don't care. Uh, and so, okay, I'm terrified of public speaking. How big's the charge? And they go, it's a 3.
Mhm.
And well, how frustrated are you feeling? Because uh, well, it's a 5. It used to be a 10. So it's like from a 10 to a 3 to a 5. And you'll start noticing the part that makes me want to, well, I really don't want to scream now. That's a 0. And we're going down this biological picture, and people look at me like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a like you have that visceral response, right? To whether it's a
Hmm.
emotional trauma or experience or something that you're scared of doing, like public speaking. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
calming that down, I've had a tapping experience, the faster tapping, and it was
yes.
very profound just in one sit down, 10 minutes. Something that was a 10, a memory of something that was like a 8, 9, 10. After doing that tapping, it brought that emotional, visceral response. I mean, I got hot, my heart started racing.
Hmm.
Very profound. Like I was kind of like, whoa, I'm back to 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And or longer. And then going through that very quickly, it brought it down to like a 2 or a 3.
And the
It's
reason, I mean,
crazy that.
in the session, it's wonderful that you're very upset and then you feel better. That's not why I do it. It's a very wonderful thing. The reason I do it is because when we're taking out the charge from a thought, for example, or the biggest thing could be it just ties me in my stomach. It's just got knots in my stomach. Whatever the biggest things are, we emphasize the most. And you'll notice they're all changing. You know, I can turn my neck. I couldn't turn my neck when I came in,
Yeah.
that kind of response. And people are totally shocked. But everyone is so used to feeling better when they're with a gifted practitioner, and they're used to going out and somebody cuts them off and they're right back where they started. And the reason for the tapping is because we're actually empowering you to update your internal software. Um, the current thing in neurobiology is to call it the fast mind. And it's really fast. That's why all of a sudden you're off to the races in your conscious mind. Huh? How did I get here? Why am I so angry? Or why am I so terrified? Because the fast mind is way faster. Slow mind has to figure stuff out. But if you're driving a car and somebody swerves in your lane, you can't depend on the, I wonder what the auto body shop bill is going to be. And this might make me need, I don't think I can afford to get in a wreck right now. Okay, etc. And fast mind just goes boop that far. You're not rolling over
Mhm.
sideways, and you're still hanging in. So the fast mind is a good thing until it gets recorded with a response you don't like. And now getting into the more than just untwisting the meridians, how does the fast mind get all this stuff recorded? And you already described it. It was like I was back there 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, some stuff happened and you had some emotional feelings that were big. And so the unconscious mind that won't let you in the rest of the time, most of us don't know, it doesn't want you in there. Uh, but if you have enough emotions, the event will record you. And then your reactions in that event are now permanently recorded, and they will take your thinking mind offline and go, and you'll be going before your thinking mind, your conscious mind, can do anything about it. I mean, right now, the fast mind now is the unconscious is saying, hang on a moment, there's a reason for that. I'm keeping track of the ejection fraction from your descending aorta and the amount of vasodilation and vasoconstriction you need right at that point, all the way down to your left little toe. Go ahead, conscious mind, keep track of that. And so if we're kind of anthropomorphizing it, but
We're nerding out on biology here.
yeah, well, but it doesn't want you to record stuff because you may mess up some things. And so it fights you. And so we're doing all these wonderful things we do to work, and it's in our conscious mind. And when you get triggered, uh, the first job of the fast mind is to turn off your slow mind. It's too slow. So the unconscious mind turns off your conscious mind where all your wonderful changes are. And now they're not there anymore. And so what we do is we're going in and we're getting the unconscious mind to a state that it will record the new things. So the way I describe it is empowering you to update your internal software so you start having the thoughts, emotions, reactions, and body sensations you want. And it really is changing your internal software. And that's why I love it. And sometimes it's a 20-minute miracle, as I call them. And tapping, like Hayes House, a guy comes up, he's had 7 back surgeries, and there's Nick Ortner up there, and I'm in so much pain. We tap it down, the pain's gone. And for the next 3 days, they bring the guy up. Yeah, pain's still gone. Okay. And those happen with tapping, but that isn't the average experience. In exactly the right circumstance, it is, but you might have a whole bunch of stuff that's causing the problem you're working on. And tapping works wonderfully, but it's not magic. Whatever we haven't worked on is not worked on.
Well, and it's the layers, right? It's the tools
Hmm.
of the toolbox. And so we've got to we use a hammer for a nail and we don't use the saw for the nail. But we still have our toolbox for all the different things that we're taking care of,
Hmm.
wellness. Yeah.
So it depends how much is involved. A quickie one for fear of public speaking was this BNI person years ago, and I'm sitting next to her in the meeting. She kind of leans over and says, "I'm terrified of public speaking, and I think I need a session." And because next week is my 3-minute launch. Okay, they have that procedure. And so she came in, and we're getting the session done. And there's just enough time to drive to the meeting. So we're tapping. It's kind of fun, and it's a giggly one. We're doing a lot of giggling about all the stuff they tried. I go to the psychologist, and I feel so safe and wonderful. And then as soon as I see the podium, I can feel my heart beating. It feels really tight. My hands are sweating. I can't concentrate. I feel anxious, you know. And so that was her story, and we tapped it down. And so I went to the meeting. I was just behind her because we record the last little bit so that you can, in your email, by the way, the session notes, I send them to you. This is about empowering you, and you can see everything we did and what we wrote down, and also there's a little recording at the end, and you'll hit the little play button to say eyebrow point. I walk away from being terrified or something like that, or
Yeah.
I'm feeling great, just like on summer vacation. You know, I love it when I can just relax or something. And it's individual with the person involved. And so I'm busy getting that to the email and sending it, right? And then I go there and she starts her 3 minute launch and she's going, uh, oh yeah, I wanted to say that. And then she's going, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You know, she's having those moments. And at the end, of course, we have a little shout out thing. It says, Bell knows what I'm going to say. And I kind of smile. And she says, I'm terrified of public speaking. Now she is, you know, she's dressed perfectly. Every hair is in place. She looks calm. And of course, you know what everybody's saying. Oh, you always look so calm. Uh, and she says, cut out that crap. I'm terrified of public speaking. Okay. You know, because we're not always how we appear. And
Right.
she said, I went to Bill and I felt really good at the end of the session. But when I was walking down his hallway, and I said it out loud. It was out of my earshot. She wasn't being mean. She said, well, there's another thing that didn't work. Says, because I always go, I feel better with the therapist or whoever. And then as soon as I see the podium, I lose it. You know, my hands start sweating. I feel tightness. I'm totally anxious, hard to concentrate. She says, well, you notice how I was kind of having to reconnect with what I wanted to say. And everybody says, yes. He says, well, I got up there, my chest wasn't tight. I couldn't feel my heart beating. I didn't feel any anxiety. My hands weren't sweating. She says it totally threw me off.
I'm not used to that. I love
and
that.
and she had believed in her conscious mind that it hadn't worked. Didn't
Well, it's
matter.
patterns, right? The patterns
Mhm.
that she's used to, and even when it's an
And
improvement, she had to change her pattern.
well, rather than you soldiering your way through and doing the behavior anyway, we just say, rather than having to feel bad, how do you want to feel when you get, oh, I'd like to feel relaxed. Okay, well, that's what we tap in.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and once the instructions are in there, they they're what happens. I mean, people don't all of a sudden, I've you know, I could walk 10 steps toward the scary spider and now I can walk 20. They just go, yeah, you know, I don't want to play with the spider, but you know, I no longer scream and jump on the table. It's just the reaction's not there anymore.
well, and I
And
think, right now, I think a lot of people could utilize this tool, and just daily practice. And,
Mhm.
there's a lot of folks with anxiety and different things going on in today's times. And this is an excellent tool for people to be able to utilize. Um, so how do people connect with you? How, like, do you do any group classes? Do you do one-to-ones? How do you teach
Well,
people how to do this as practitioners? What are kind of the different ways people can connect with you?
well, it's usually referrals from people that have worked with me, and then when they hear it enough times, they'll come in. But at first, it's like, yeah, this is really going to help. Okay, and and which is fine. And again, you don't have to believe it's going to work. You just have to want it to change. But you get a hold of me. I'm on the internet, proeftcenter.com, and you can go to the website. You can call. You can text. Uh, you can email me, and they all
You can
work.
come to GOL events. Bill will be at some of those.
Yes, and and of course, you know, if you're in sessions with me, it's completely. You can brag about it, but it's not something I'll ever talk about. And so it's very private. uh, you tap on yourself and I'm across the room tapping on myself or online. Like I have local people that, that drive all the way into Boise is a pain. And so they just get online. I have people that absolutely has got to be in the office. And I have people, like New Zealand or Singapore is coming to mind, or in Europe. And of course, they can't fly or drive in. A lot of people in closer places, but are still too far away. So it works very well online. Most people love it being uh, in person uh, with they live in the area. But I have a for some reason have a bunch of male engineers, and one of them absolutely has to be in person. The other two are like, yeah, I'm on my computer all day long. It's just fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I love that. I love that. And um, now are you planning, so something that we do within GOL is, and I haven't really talked to Bill, so this is off the cuff, but we do learn and experience. And
Hmm.
these are great ways for people to kind of have like a toe dip experience or an immersive experience without just fully jumping in. So they can also kind of be more of an observer in this. And so we have
Hmm.
different kinds of learning experience that go from, functional nutrition to tinctures, chakras, to neurofeedback, to dowsing. It's a wide spectrum. So it's fun. But yeah, we haven't set a date, but I think this would be a great learning experience where we have people come together and have people that would want to experience tapping, experience this for themselves. And then if it's a good connection, right? Like
Hmm.
this is the tool, this is the key, and be able to connect with you further too.
Well, well, it's wonderful. I love talking about it, as anybody who's talked to me about it knows. And and I have all sorts of slide presentations on an issue. I love having a brave volunteer that comes to the front of the room and we sit
Yeah.
down and we show you what a tapping session is like. It can be done as a group, but part of the beauty of it, and you can go online and there's, Brad Yates does a bunch, and they're kind of scripted and they're in some kind of general sense and they are in some kind of general way helpful, but people are very individual, and where you're at in that moment is what we're tapping on. And so one way is to just say, this is what tapping's about. Do you have any questions? um, Another way is for somebody to be the brave soul. Okay, I'm coming up here, let's do it, and everyone else can tap along with them. um,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And that's what we experienced before doing something like that. And
yeah.
it's very
It,
profound. And everybody in the room feels it.
uh,
Even though
yeah.
that one individual and their situation, their memory, whatever that was, the whole room can feel that healing power that happens in that moment. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And another thing is I am teaching how to do pro EFT center tapping. I'm right now, um, I've got an advanced practitioner in holistic health in the class, but also several therapists. And they're delightful people. It's just like walking to this most loving, wonderful room, and they're learning how to do what it is that I do, because as therapists, they want to use it too. One of them, after lesson one, so to speak, she said, I had a client come in and she's going on vacation and she's terrified of flying. And so I said, we're going to tap. And the client said, this is the silliest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. This is going to help me. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, the client comes back and she said, I didn't have any fear of flying when I went to the airport or on the plane. And it's amazing. On the way back, I didn't have a fear of flying either. And
Yeah.
so the
Well, in
therapist is
school,
really excited to be able to use this tool in their work, because this part is not rocket science, so to speak.
but another great tool. And I was thinking too,
Mhm.
like for teachers, this would be a great tool for teachers to teach the kids, for calming, centering, balancing their
Oh,
system.
that's wonderful. There's several groups that are doing that. teachers that have learned it, and for little kids, rather than the your own private session thing that you do working with me, they have, the kids' happy songs, and they tap and sing the song.
Yeah. And
And
still
so,
get the
like,
outcome, the benefits of it.
and the teachers talk about, okay, so uh, it's time for lunch. The lunchroom's 20 minutes behind. We're stuck in the hallway, and all the other teachers, quiet, stand in line. No, no, come back here. Okay. And
Fight
we're
or flight
doing,
response is starting to escalate.
and her class is tapping and singing the happy song. Take it away.
Exactly.
Life is good. And that's a great way for kids to just to tap and sing their happy song. And so that's a technique you can use with the whole group. And it does, it calms them down, they feel better, and the children learn that they can actually regulate their emotions, they can be in charge of them, and it's great fun, and they're happy, and all the other teachers
Teachers
are
are
elated
happy.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna send this to some of my kids' teachers, all my teacher friends. They'll love this. Oh, well, Bill, this is great. This is all I really enjoyed our time that we had sitting down together. I enjoy every time that we chat, and I learned something new. And so I'm just really excited to have you part of the GOL network and gathering the light workers and being able to share your gifts and everything, the many decades that you've given service to our communities. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, and thank you for doing what you're doing, and you're so welcome. Um, I just love what I do. So,
It
yeah.
shows. It shows. Oh, well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for everybody that came on and watched. We will catch you on the next Lightworker Radio and interviews. Much love, everybody. Be well.